Goten and Trunks might be the biggest fumble when it comes to ruining characters and leaving them in the dust in the entire Dragon Ball franchise. Dragon Ball has been going on for many decades, so it's no surprise that some characters would be forgotten over time, but Goten and Trunks should not be one of these cases. So today we're diving into one of Dragon Ball's biggest missed opportunities, and that's how two of the most gifted Saiyans in history were completely sidelined and what could have been. Now that last statement might confuse some of you who are watching now, especially when I said two of the most gifted Saiyans. A thing that most of the Dragon Ball community forgets is that half Saiyans have a much greater potential than full-blooded Saiyans. And this is also one of the reasons as to why Gohan, Goku's first son, is constantly getting powered up despite him not training. You know, of course sloppy writing also plays a big factor in that. Looking back at the Dragon Ball Buu saga, we see Goten unlock his Super Saiyan form while fighting against his own mother Chi-Chi, and he was literally 7 years of age.
I'm really sorry. My little baby's turned into a delinquent.
And this also goes for present timeline Trunks. When present Trunks unlocked his Super Saiyan form, he was only 8 years old, only 1 year older than Goten, and he unlocked Super Saiyan while training with Vegeta. Even when we look at future Trunks, he also achieved Super Saiyan at the age of 16 due to the loss of future Gohan, who was his mentor in the future timeline. However, after the Buu saga, Goten and Trunks get completely shafted harder than me in Dragon Ball Legend. They do not get any chance to shine after this, besides getting whooped by Beerus harder than my dad whoops me with his belt. And even then, they're fused as Goten, so it doesn't even count, but I'll talk about this more later. The only other time they get to shine after the Buu and Beerus saga is before the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super, where they get recruited by Android 17 to look after his island and the animals on it. In the anime, this is not shown in detail, unlike the manga, which is where we learned that there are still Cell Juniors running around. The Cell Juniors are still alive and kicking on this island. Goten and Trunks once again make their return in the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, where once again they just fuse into Gotenks. However, there's a twist. It's different. They do it wrong. Wow. But hey, at least they're actually aging now. However, this is where the anime does end with them. Toyotaro, the current artist and also now the current main writer for the Dragon Ball Super manga, seemed to be more interested in the two Saiyans, with his recent chapter depicting Goten and Trunks following in the footsteps of the Great Saiyan Man and becoming superheroes. So other than these few things, Goten and Trunks have been incredibly underutilized in the entire Dragon Ball franchise. I mean, just take a look at their battles. Every time they're there, they are usually just relying on fusion, and it's basically become a character trait for the two characters. I believe at some point Vegeta comments on this in Dragon Ball Super and says that they rely on fusion way too much, which is true and is just all around honestly ruining their characters even more. Goten and Trunks being half Saiyan and half human means they would and should have the same potential as Gohan, and probably higher potential due to becoming Super Saiyans at such a young age. So it's not like the two boys are too weak to be relevant in the current Dragon Ball Super timeline. I must admit that I do enjoy the current direction that Toyotaro seems to be taking Goten and Trunks in the Dragon Ball Super manga, but as most of you know, there is currently this really big stupid legal battle going on about the rights of Dragon Ball ever since Akira Toriyama's passing, and also the current news that we received about Toyotaro starting his own original manga and leaving Dragon Ball on a hiatus. So right now we have no updates as to where Goten and Trunks are going to be heading in the future of Dragon Ball. As far as we know, this could be the end for the Dragon Ball franchise as we know it, leaving us with just video games and collaborations, kinda similar how the original Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT left it until 2013 when we got Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods. If Goten and Trunks were more better written inside of Dragon Ball and not forgotten by the authors, then they would be much more loved within the story and games. Now be honest here, when you load up Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 or Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, who are you realistically magically excited to play as. Like, come on, I'll give you a moment to think here, you know, use your thinking caps for this one. Okay, you've got your answer. If somebody said Goten, present Trunks, or Gotenks, you're just lying and trying to be different. Like, just be for real with yourself, bro. You are not going out of your way to pick Goten, Kid Trunks, or Gotenks. But if the show and manga treated these characters better, then Goten and Trunks would have much better attacks and more unique gimmicks to their characters in the games, and would also be way more useful in the franchise as a whole. They wouldn't just be sidelined the entire time as little funny gag characters. If the creators don't want to make these two characters really strong like Gohan or Goku, then that's fine. I would love for them not to be as strong as these two characters and have a more unique style. That is completely fine, but at least develop these characters in a way that makes them relevant and unique. Personally, I'm a strong believer that not everything in a franchise needs to be super strong, and I think it should focus more on gimmicks for a character that helps them stand out with the rest of the cast. An example of this in Dragon Ball would be Guldo of the Ginyu Force. And I know that might sound dumb, but hear me out. Physically, Guldo was incredibly weak, he was lacking in speed, but his ability to stop time by holding his breath, that made up for the lack of power. Seeing Guldo next to all of the other members of the Ginyu Force, you'd question why he was in it if you didn't know his power, but once we were shown Guldo's power, it all made sense and it all came together. We knew at that point that Guldo was not someone that you could just mess around with. They've reintroduced a time stop ability like with Hit in the Universe 6 arc, which yeah, it was cool and Hit is a cool character and it was done well, but they also made him incredibly strong, which in my opinion just made him less cool. And once again just fits the old anime villain stereotype of defeat one villain and another more powerful one shows up again. I think the Granola Saga was hit with this really hard right at the end, with Black Frieza coming into play, having Black Frieza kill Gas and then one-shot Goku and Ego Vegeta. I feel like the superhero route that they're taking for Goten and Trunks is a really good first step into a direction with these characters, and the fact that they are aging now is also really good. However, I think it's time to put Gotenks on a leash and lock him up in a cage like he was some evil dog. I think it's time to make Gotenks a character similar to that of the likes of Vegito and Gogeta. Gotenks has many fans out there, I'm sure he does, but due to Dragon Ball Super's writing and the later Z movies, Gotenks has become a part of Goten and Trunks' personality. Like, it's not a fusion to make one new character anymore, like Vegito, he's just kind of always there. Now, me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing a complete Dragon Ball spin-off similar to how other shows do it, whether it be OVAs or spin-off manga, such as the JoJo ones with Yoshikage Kira, and it just explores Goten or Trunks in their natural world. I mean, in Dragon Ball GT, it was shown to us that Teen Goten was having a girlfriend problem, while Trunks was out traveling with Kid Goku and Pan. Just give us something, you know? Dragon Ball's one of them shows where, yeah, it's primarily shonen genre, but it does have bits of different genres mixed into it, and early Dragon Ball is a huge adapter of this. But do let me know what your thoughts on the missed potential of a Goten and Trunks that can be any Trunks realistically. And of course, if you are new here, then do go down and subscribe, as it is free and you could always unsub at another time anyway. You might as well leave a like and a comment while you're down there, and yeah, let me know your thoughts on the current state of Goten and Trunks.